confiscate the money. That girl is a real proud thief. Small world, all her friends know me.
So we are back to the brand new episode of Cincinnati Stingers MyLEAGUE here in NBA 2K17. Last episode, we went and simmed another season of the Stingers franchise, and we had a pretty good season, I guess. We didn't have as great of a season as the last few, just based on our bench. It's pretty thin. But other than that, we had a pretty decent season, lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Atlanta Hawks. But other than that, not that bad of the season. But this season, I did have some complications when it comes to the recording, so this will be probably one of the quickest episodes I've ever done in terms to simming the season and the playoffs and all kind of stuff. But another season with the big three, along with Francis Jenkins on the bench. We're going to decide what we're going to do with them this season. But look at this season we had in the regular season for the first half. We had a great first half of the regular season, probably one of the best I've ever seen. But going into the All-Star break, we did have 3 All-Stars in Nick Cheeks, Francis Jenkins, and Shane Wheeler. So all 3 All-Stars once again this year for the crew. Also, Shane Wheeler went to the 3-point contest too, but unfortunately he did lose that one. But one game from the season though, look at this, Lynn Morgan triple-double, including rebounds, blocks, and points. That's crazy. But going into the last half of the season, to the end of it, we had a great season. We finished 70-12 on the regular season, 16 games ahead of the second place team in the East. That's pretty crazy. But obviously, the West, they're not the greatest, but the Clippers still the 3rd seed in the West, not that bad. But going to the regular season stats, the stats, same old. Nick Cheeks led us in a lot of categories. Same with Shane Wheeler. And yeah, looks like Patton had a great season too. 37.5 points per game. He's not as great as he was with 39 points per game, but I mean, he's still as good as that. But your MVP this season was Georges Patton for the 4th time. We have Grant Roberts as Rookie of the Year, Reggie Moncrief as 6th man, Marion Wall as a Defensive Player of the Year. Most improved is Derek Brewer, and your All-NBA first team. It's same old. We had no players in the All-NBA first team for that, but Georges Patton is on there, so I guess it's not that bad. But going to the All-NBA second team, look, there's still no Stingers on there for some reason. All-NBA 13, though, we do have Nick Cheeks and Francis Jenkins, so I mean, at least you have those two guys on there once again for this season. But all-defensive first team, guess what? No Stingers. Second team, no Stingers again. Third, and there's obviously no NBA third team for defensive, but no one on the rookies too, so I guess that kind of sucks. But at least Kevin McHale won Coach of the Year as the Stingers coach. But our playoff run, we went and won 4-1 against the Pistons in the first round. Second round is 4-3, went to Game 7 against the Heat. We went and swept the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. That was actually a pretty good season, or a great series for us. But now we're moving on to the NBA Finals here in that quick playoff format, but at least this episode playoff format. But Francis Jenkins is out for the high ankle sprain. Ronnie Day is out, and our MVP usually in the playoffs is Malcolm Little. He is out too. So I mean, all 3 of our stars are out, and we're facing the San Antonio Spurs, who for some reason the Clippers didn't even make the second round. But the Spurs, they have actually a pretty bad roster, probably one of the worst rosters I've ever seen when it comes to facing an opponent in the finals. But we faced the Hawks last year. We lost to a crappy team. We might do this time as we lose Game 1 of the NBA Finals to the Spurs, 130-115 finals. So, I mean, we lose Game 1. It's all due to Flanders, though Flanders is a great player on the Spurs. But I'm going to go and simulate Game 2 on the Simcast. We win this 126-117 in Cincinnati. So 1-1 series here, all tied up at 1 apiece, at least. As I guess we had not that bad of a game. Flanders still dropped 29, 10, and 5 for a double-double. So we had to go and contain Flanders in order to go and win this series against Spurs. Now 1-1 series are all tied up at 1 apiece. We're going to Game 3, and we lose Game 3 too. So we're up down 2-1 here against the Spurs in this series. But Shane Wheeler 28 points per game, or 20 points on that game. Other than that, nobody else really stand out except Flanders. Flanders 32, 8, and 11 for a double-double once again. So 2-1 here for the Spurs. We're going to San Antonio once again, and we win this one. We demolished them 142-116 finals. So we demolished them in that game as Cheeks, Wheeler, Coleman all had great games for us, stepping up once again when we need them. But Flanders 29 points, still couldn't contain him at all in this game, which probably will be a problem right down the road. But 2-2 series are all tied at 2 apiece. We're going back to Cincinnati, and we actually win this one 134-132, a 2-point win for us in this game, a close one. But Wheeler drops 52 points over the San Antonio Spurs. Nick Cheeks 27 points and 5 steals. So I mean, great game for Shane Wheeler. He's already shaping up to be the Finals MVP if he win this one all. But the Spurs, Flanders dropped 46 too. So their Shane Wheeler dropped 46. Our Shane Wheeler dropped 52. But now going into this game, we're trying to go and win this one all here in San Antonio. As we're going into the 4th quarter, a very close game, all tied up right there, as they just go and pull away at the last minute, 137-128 finals. So they win by 9. Wheeler drops 43 on us, or we drop 43 on them in Wheeler. But other than that, Come on, we gotta step this up though. Cheeks has to step it up, and we gotta go and contain Flanders in the last game, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. We gotta go and somehow win this one in Cincinnati. We did have the better record, so we're in home here for the last game. Let's go and win this one all here for the Cincinnati Stingers fans and players. Let's go and do this one.
From the inbound, misses the shot. And they've done it, the new NBA champions.
And how about the road that these guys have been down, and it ends with an NBA championship. A heartfelt congratulations to everyone who's taking part in that celebration right there. Pure joy.
You have to hand it to the entire organization. They work together to get right here.
And guys, what a reward for the fan base. I mean, I know one thing. They're going to enjoy this memory for a long, long time.
And we have enjoyed our time with you folks all season long. This is Kevin Harlan saying so long. Have a wonderful summer.
So Stingers win championship for the 4th time in franchise history, as Wheeler drops 37 on the Spurs, Cheeks drops 27, and everyone just played well basically, and that's why I won this one against those hard fighting San Antonio Spurs. They had a crappy roster on paper, but they're basically, their will is what basically got them to Game 7 here. We probably would have swept them if they didn't have the will, but we win the NBA championship for the 4th time in franchise history. And I don't know how many times. You probably should have won a few times in a row back a few seasons ago, but anyway, Shane Wheeler is your finals MVP as expected. 32.7 points per game in the finals. He killed it for us, and ultimately is the reason why we won it. But anyway, we had a pretty good, actually a lot of good playoff performances by our players. Wheeler played well, Jenkins played well. Obviously, Jayson Tatum even stepped it up a bit in the finals, playing very well in the entire playoffs as a whole. Going 2-player retirements, though, we do have DeMarcus Cousins, Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving, and Tobias Harris. But DeMarcus Cousins was a member of the Stingers for years on there. I think about 6 years with the Stingers. But obviously, DeMarcus Cousins, great player. Too bad we didn't have him for his last year. But we also have Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving. Irving played 18 years with the Cavs with one team. He's like Kobe almost, 18 years with the Cavs. That's great. But Draymond Green retires as a member of the free agency. He didn't really sign without anyone for the last season, but we have Ben McLemore retired as a member of the Magic. Ben McLemore was on the Stingers for about last year, I think, for about 44 games. But other than that, we do have Justin Anderson retired as a member of the Sixers. He did play a few years on the Stingers, actually, I think about 2 or 3. But we do have Rick Carlisle retired as the member of the 76ers coach, and Kyrie Irving and DeMarcus Cousins are going to the Hall of Fame. So it's cool to think that we had one Hall of Famer in DeMarcus Cousins on the Stingers. So Kyrie Irving, DeMarcus Cousins, and Draymond Green get their numbers retired by their respective organizations, the Cavs, Kings, and the Warriors. So looks like the big three has their numbers retired by the Golden State Warriors and Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry, so it's pretty cool to see that. But Memphis wins the draft lottery, Knicks get 2nd, Warriors get 3rd. Staff signings, we didn't really sign anybody new. I think we signed a new trainer, but other than that, nothing changed from last year. Let's get right into this draft, though.
With the first pick in the NBA draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select the 19-year-old point guard from Oklahoma State University. With the second pick in the NBA draft, the New York Knicks select Joshua Cameron from the University of Kansas. With the third pick in the NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Anthony Wall from George Washington University. the 4th pick in the NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Brandon Sims. With the 5th pick in the NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns select Mel Olson from UCLA. We have a trade to announce.
So we're trying to move up to 7th here, trading a first-round pick, a second, and a future first for the 7th overall pick.
With the 6th pick in the NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Julio Paxson from Clemson University. 7th pick in the NBA draft, Stanley Wall from Georgia Tech.
So the draft is complete. Russell Westbrook Jr. goes first overall to the Memphis Grizzlies. It's pretty cool to see Russell Westbrook Jr. in the league. But we did also draft one center. Yeah, I think his name is like Stephen Wall. But Wall, he's 7 feet tall. He's 19 years old. Not that bad of a pick, I guess, by as 7th overall. But no options for option summary. There's basically not going to be any good free agents in this free agency this year. We do try to re-sign Harvey Bosch and the crew, but Brandon Ingram is the best player on the free agency. He wants $34 million though. That's way too much. And Javon Erickson, Baldis, Baldwin, Walker. I mean, not that great of a free agency. We're going to try and sign Harvey Bosch and the crew, but we can't even sign guys to one-year contracts because their cap situation is so crap. So I mean, that means one thing. We're going to try and trade Jayson Tatum to the Brooklyn Nets for 2 very good young players and a future first-round pick in this one. So Nerlens Noel, Jayson Tatum on the Brooklyn Nets now as of this trade. So we got 2 great players, plus we went and cleared $30 million in cap space, which helped us out tremendously here, trying to re-sign some free agents. So blockbuster deal. Jayson Tatum goes to the Nets, along with Nerlens Noel, too, was a longtime member of the Stingers. So Jayson Tatum played his entire career so far with the Stingers. He was in the shadows for the past few years, because Francis Jenkins went and took his roster spot on the starting roster. He was 6th man for about 4 or 5 years so far. So now he gets the opportunity to start on Brooklyn and be a great player in the league. But we also got Fred Aldridge from this Brooklyn Nets. He's a great player, 85 overall, 22 years old as of this player progression. We also got a young center there in Cam Norton. So Norton, he replaces Noel, plus I guess that Aldridge replaces Jayson Tatum on the roster. But Tatum, 89 overall, finally is the best player on the Nets and on this team. But Nerlens Noel drops to 75 overall. He's 35 years old, probably going to only play 1 more year in the league. But Jayson Tatum, so many years on the Cincinnati Stingers, 12 years on the Stingers. His number is obviously going to get retired by the Stingers in the next few years when he retires. But Fred Aldridge averaged 25 points last season. He's going to be a great player as 6th man on this team. And obviously, he's got an A potential. So, I mean, great sky high potential for Fred Aldridge. But even that young center, Cam Norton, though, he's a very good player too. A- potential, not that bad. But going to the draft summit, or the players summit, look at this though. 87 overall Chris Mayo is going to go first overall next year. So the Chris Mayo sweepstakes next year, we guess somehow get our ticket in for that one. We're going to trade 2 players for 2 first-round picks because we have no roster spots. Got to trim down our roster. Plus, Neely from the Nets trade, we trade him for a first-round pick also, so we got a few first-round picks out of that. But that's our roster after this year. I guess I'll end this episode off here. Make sure to subscribe for more Stingers franchise ball, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.